that, guys. Sorry, let me turn my volume down a little bit. Okay, so apologies for that. I've been having a few technical issues. This stream should be good to go now. So, in any case, getting back to the AK, there are a few different ways in which you can go about practicing the AK. These are the maps I currently use. Training Aim CSGO is pretty much the go-to for just positioning and twitch reflexes. Recoil Master is very good, as you might expect it, helping you get spray patterns and recoil down. And then aim and reflex training is very good for practicing on headshots. So I'll go ahead and start off by demoing these for you guys in case you guys are unfamiliar. Training aim, sometimes, let's see, there's a question in chat. AK recoil pattern has changed. Any idea why? From Jub. So the recoil pattern, as far as I know, was actually changed back to how it was. They did this whole thing with the R8 and all that, and they messed up all the rifle spray patterns. And then the community got super pissed at them, and they rolled it back to the other one. So I think the point was to kind of, the goal with it was to make tapping more prominent, and it failed, but I think they're still looking into that, and I think that's a good idea. The spray with the AK is kind of overpowered at this point, in my opinion. So, as you may have just noticed, this will happen. It kicked me out when I was trying to load training aim up the first time, and I think there are too many objects in it, and so it gets a little weirded out, but if you just fire it up the second time, it should go. And did that pretty much answer that for you, Jub? Yeah, no, I mean, so if you open up the console here, yeah, it's got it freaks out about different things. But one of the error messages I often get is that it's unhappy with how many objects there are, instances of objects or something. In any case, this is aim training. Doesn't really matter which team you join. You can hop in on either. Over here, you start out with this. You basically select your weapon. Since I'm doing the AK, I will choose the AK. Over here, there's actually a lot of different things you can do. I'm not gonna get into all of them. They're all pretty useful and helpful, but for the moment, I'm just gonna be working on twitch reflexes and positioning. So I'll go ahead. Actually, I'll set that at 50. I don't want to do a full 100 and take all the time, but usually I set this to 100. If I'm feeling lazy, which I am at the moment, I set the delay to 0.75 and the static target duration also to 0.75. Here you can choose your distance from it. Basically, everything is done by either shooting or running up, and you can press E and use it. So I like to go to the third thing just to kind of start out. And essentially what it's going to do is targets will pop up here, and I'll have to shoot them, and it keeps score. So I should actually fix my posture. One thing to keep in mind as well is that with aiming and especially kind of snapshots, posture and having both feet planted very firmly on the floor actually does help quite a lot being able to make those shots. I'm not totally sure why. And so essentially, yeah, I mean, you just go through this. When you're consistently hitting about 80 or more out of the... Of course, I'm having a little trouble. So if you're hitting 80 or more out of 100, then you can go ahead and go up to the next speed. And so when you do that, you want to increase or decrease both the delay and the static target duration. And if any of you want to hear kind of a more detailed version of this, this is essentially Alu from Ninjas in Pajamas. This is his whole aiming practice strategy. So I think he's doing it at 0.25, not at 0.75 or 0.5. And one of the things I find really useful about this is that I played for a really long time with very high DPI and high sensitivity. And so I got very used to just using my wrist to make shots. And so one of the things I try and do when I do this is I make sure that I'm not falling back into the habit of just trying to go for the snap wrist shot. Because I've lowered my DPI and sensitivity, and you get much more control, and it's also much better ergonomically if you're using your elbow and your shoulder instead of snapping with the wrist. But it's sometimes easy to fall back into that because I mainly hit when I use the elbow, or when I use the wrist, and miss when I use the elbow and the shoulder. Okay, so that's basically aim training. You can do, you know, any weapon you want here. But as this is the AK week, I'm not spending a lot of time with those. Okay. And don't worry, I'm not just going to be running through and doing practice maps. I'm also going to go play some casual and try and comment on my play as I go through. So Recoil Master is what I'll demonstrate next. And so I always set no bots for Recoil Master and for aim training, or training aim. I think it'll automatically put no bots there if you don't do it, but it's just always good to kind of lower the load on Counter-Strike's limited intelligence. Terrorist. So I'm really bad at spray control and recoil. So when I demonstrate it, please don't laugh too hard. But in any case, this map is very nice. They have up here, whatever weapon you have equipped, they have the spray pattern animation shown. So you can kind of see essentially that's the path that you want your cursor to take as you fire off each shot. And that would maintain exactly the same position if you did that perfectly. So let's see, over here there are a bunch of settings. They're really cool that they're here. I generally don't mess with them. I just kind of, the only one I really care about is reset, which puts it back into position and removes any bullet impacts you have there. Yeah, Jub, actually, so I meant to and I have not, but I will make just a little collection of like my practice maps of the ones that I use so that people can download them. Okay, so to get started, I'll show here, you know, you can show impacts, which is showing you exactly where your bullets land. Okay. And you can do movement lock if you don't want to be able to straight. And then, essentially, what you do is you just start firing. So I'll reset to there. And you want to just follow the dot as it goes down. So again, like I said, this is definitely not my strongest suit. When I spray, it tends to be something a little bit more like this. I don't know where that last spin came in from, but I'll take it. And, you know, that also works with the AK a surprising amount. You don't want to get into the bad habit of doing it, but if you're frustrated and unable to get frags, you can always just kind of spray at people's feet and Z back and forth. But yeah, so, you know, over here, there's kind of, this is also very useful. And I'm way worse at it. And bullet time, I believe, just essentially allows you to slow everything down if you really want to practice kind of an easy mode, I guess. Okay, so that is Recoil. And then, honestly, I think I love both of those maps, but I think in some ways, aim and reflex training might be the most directly applicable to in-game. Yeah, Jub. So I have thought about changing to a static reticle. I actually kind of like the bounce. It gives me like, I guess I don't know. It helps me sense the timing a little bit better. I think I haven't ever played with a static reticle unless 1.6 forced it on you. I honestly don't remember what it was like back then. But I don't know. I like the bounce. I find that just having it be not an extreme bounce and not super big is enough to not throw me off. It also gives me a sense of how inaccurate my shots are going to be when I'm spraying. Oh, So that was one of the things I was going to say about this map real quick. You always have to join counter-terrorist. If you join terrorist, or it auto-assigns you to terrorist, it's not very happy, since they are the enemies. This happened to me earlier. It's supposed to just round end and you're good, but for some reason, it never seemed to end the round once the bots were in there. So I'm not totally sure what the deal is with that. And there we go. Maybe it was slightly unhappy because I didn't have bots on. I don't think the difficulty matters about that, by the way, at all. I've definitely started this with no bots and had bots, and essentially they're just running at you and trying to knife you, as you'll see in a minute. So I don't think the AI level really matters. Okay, now because I am doing the AK, I'll just note that they have all the terrorist guns down here. You don't have to worry about buying them. Whereas if you want a CT weapon, you just go into the buy menu as usual. Sometimes the bots will be a little slow to start off. If they are, you can see one of their heads, fire a shot off, and then they'll start running. And essentially, this map is really nice because it gives you a variety of... You know, I turned my trackpad off, so that shouldn't be happening. But in any case, it gives you a variety of levels of headshots to kind of go for. You can go for over the box, you get them strafing at you, you get them jumping at you. And it's really, really good practice. And I don't know, sometimes it seems to be enabled, sometimes it seems to be disabled, but theoretically when they knife you, you're going to die. You can toggle God mode if you don't want to die. But yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways I find this to be the most useful, and aim training to be the most basic. Because I like to tap with it. And I feel like it gives you a little bit of fudging range if you're spraying. You know, if you're spraying down at somebody, you can just zigzag back and forth, and you'll probably get them before the end of the clip. And really, you should be going for headshots anyway. So I think this is really good for tapping. I'm definitely just lazy about recoil practice. But that's what I like, so that's what I focus on. One of the things also to keep in mind, though, and this is why I'm going to go play some casual right now, is that when you're trying to work on tapping with the AK, you can't just play practice maps. Because as well as kind of twitch reflexes and, you know, crosshair positioning, one of the key things with tapping with the AK is trigger discipline. And it's a lot harder to fire off a single tap when like 3 CTs are charging at you from long doors or whatever than it is when you're firing against a wall. So here we go. I'm going to hop in this game. And by the way, if anybody ever wants to play with me while I'm streaming, I'm totally open to that. We'll see. I'll start off with voice enabled if there's a lot of trash on here. I'll probably turn it off. Or mic spam more likely than trash talking. And since I'm now in game, I'll go ahead and just turn those off. So I have a really bad habit of buying up all the time in warm-up as though I were actually going to be playing that round, and I have no more warm-up money. Probably shouldn't do that, especially if you're practicing a weapon. So yeah, I mean, Dust in a lot of ways is kind of the easiest map to practice with the AK on, because it's the map that comes up the most ever. So, you know, you get a lot of practice kind of doing crosshair positioning and working angles with the AK on this map.
Let's go. Stick together. Go, my friend.
I also, you may notice, do a lot of radio communications of various levels of seriousness, so I'll try and keep that to a minimum.